tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queuing. H2.0. Yeah. Yeah. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear.
Welcome to the Queendom, H2.0 on your screen, where the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. If you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must.
This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up a better scene. Spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load. From social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought.
Ooh, so come with your respect and see the real effect. Cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me envy. Unleash the dragon.
Subscribe, ring that notification bell. Yeah, you don't wanna miss a thing. Welcome to the family. Yeah.
They drag us from the coast, middle passage madness, where we lost the most. Packed in hoes like cargo, spirits in a cage. Built a brand new nation, lived a life of rage, yeah. We were the property, the 3/5 compromise. Picked the cotton, built the White House with our hands inside. And they watered all the poplar trees with our blood and cries. Yeah, you know what they were for beneath the southern skies. That strange fruit hanging message of their hate. A simple wrong look was enough to seal your fate. To my brown kin, they just stole it, called it manifest. Killed the Aztecs, stole the plains, put them to the left. Good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They wanna push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back, not going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. We ain't going back. Let's talk about a word. Let's talk about a word. See how it sticks. 6 letters, COLORED to politics. Not a person, just a label, just a shade on a chart. A legal way to tear a whole damn race apart. Colored water fountain, colored waiting room, colored entrance round the back, a social living tomb. Jim Crow was the law, man. Segregation was the tool. Taught a child to hate his own skin before he went to school. And it ain't just here, that's the global view. Apartheid, colonization, yeah, they did it there too. That word was a weapon, a boot on the neck to say you live, you die, you move at our check. They want the good old days, the signs on the wall. They want us broken, silent, waiting for the call. They wanna push us backwards, drag us down to hell, but we ain't going back. 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 Don't you dare say it's repeat. repeating. It never stops. They just got new suits, new slogans, new cops. They ban the books that tell the truth of Act 1. They call a protest riot soon as the marching's done. They tell us get over it, it wasn't us. While they build the same systems of them and us. Gerrymander the district, choke the money from the school, praise the good old days while they fill the modern jails. This is the warning, this is the last thing. We learned your lessons, now we understand. We are the children of the ones you couldn't break. We are the dreams that you could never ever take. We are the fire you tried to douse with ice. We paid the cost, we ain't gon' pay it twice. You want us back in chains, you want us on our knees. We'd rather die right here standing on our feet. This ain't a threat, this is a promise we fulfill. We ain't ever going back. We'll fight you tooth and nail. We ain't going back.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Golden. I am back with another live, y'all. I had a few things that I wanted to talk about on this live that I thought would be very impertinent. On today, like we know, y'all, February has been, deemed the month for Black history. But when you live the life, it doesn't have to be just subjected to 1 month. Right? You can talk about it any given time. And so I did want to talk about a little bit of Black history today, y'all. So yeah, this may not be the most exciting of lives, but thank y'all so much for joining. I really appreciate all the support. So shout out to V Love, shout out to Imani, shout out to Star, and Mama is in the background as well listening. I hope y'all are having a great evening. It is about 6:55 p.m. here, Eastern time in the Carolinas in the United States. It's a little chilly today, y'all. It was like really, really nice and warm yesterday to where like you ain't have to wear a coat or nothing. You could just go outside with a t-shirt. And then today it's back chilly again. So I've noticed that here in the Carolinas, this weather be like all upside down. But anyway, y'all, let's go ahead and give a brief synopsis of what we'll be talking about today. So as y'all can see in the title, it says the Unbroken Spirit, from slave codes to the American Revolution. These are some things that I think are very important, and some people that I think need to be spoke about that are very important when it comes to a little bit of the history in the background when it comes to Black history. So we're going to take a deep dive into the foundational era of Black history in America. And again, y'all, I'm going somewhere with this. We're starting at the beginning, and yes, we will end up in the present. But to understand what's happening presently, we got to understand what happened historically and in the past. So in this live session today, we will be exploring the legal chains of the slave codes, the first moral protest in Germantown, the fiery resistance of the Stono Rebellion, the genius of Phillis Wheatley, and the complex role of Black patriots in the American Revolution. We're tracing the journey from systemic oppression to the relentless pursuit of liberty. So let's go ahead and get into it. And per usual, y'all know I have some videos to show. Now, the videos I'm going to show on this live, they will all be like at the same, you know what I'm saying? Like from the same book and history. So y'all will see, you know, it's not going to be switched up like I usually do it. We're going to keep it all in one line, all in order. But the very first thing we'll be talking about is the slave codes, and that is the architecture of oppression. The slave codes were a series of laws that were passed in the 17th and 18th centuries, most notably in Virginia and South Carolina, designed to define the status of enslaved people and the rights of their owners. These laws strip Black people of basic humanity, making slavery a hereditary condition based on the mother's status, and banning education, assembly, and travel. So, some of the key points that we need to pay attention to here is that these weren't just rules, they were legal systems created to ensure a permanent underclass by institutionalizing racism into the DNA of the American colonies. Also, what I will do on this live, and y'all will see, is how I tie in not just the history, but I'm also going to compare some of that said history to a lot of things that we are seeing actually being repeated and reignited and brought back to life today. So we will get into all of that. But first and foremost, let's go ahead and get into the first video. What I'm going to do is read y'all one at a time, and then I'll play the video based off of that topic. And then before we play the next video, I'll read, you know, the synopsis of that and then play the video. So I'm going to do it like that way on this live and see if that works a little bit better instead of reading it all at once and then playing the videos. So based off of each video I'm going to play, I will play the intro about, you know, what it's going to be about and what we're going to learn about in that video. So let me go ahead and get this up on the screen. And y'all know I'm going to meet y'all in the chat per usual. Now with this one, I do have two videos that I want to show to y'all. So the first one is just, it's very basic. We will say that, you know, or very straight to the point, more basic. And then the second one I want to show y'all goes and dives in a little bit deeper. But when it gets into these slave codes, I did want to give a little bit of additional information when it comes to that as well. So I did decide to play two videos on that topic, and then we're moving on from that topic to the rest of them. So let me go ahead and get this one up here, y'all. And this is a video that I will be playing that I have been approved, and I've been given approval from the content creator to play directly. And so I will be playing this for y'all as we do this Black history breakdown that, like I said, y'all, doesn't have to be just in February. We can do it whenever and wherever. And especially if you live as a Black person, then, you know, you're experiencing your history. It's going to be an everyday thing for you. It doesn't happen just once a month. So let's go ahead and get into that. And anybody who's here joining and supporting, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let's listen to this video together, and I will meet y'all in the chat.
Smith, and this is Crash Course Black American History. There are all sorts of ways that societies restrict people's movement. For example, people can put gates and fences around their homes and communities, or there are traffic cones that tell us where we can and can't drive, even though sometimes I might accidentally run over them. I'm working on it. But some methods that society uses to restrict the movements of people are far more sinister, far more serious, and based on distorted beliefs, have no sincere interest in the safety of those people. What I'm thinking of in this case are something called slave codes. Slave codes were based on the belief that Black Americans were just an economic investment. They were purposefully designed to condone harming Black Americans and keeping them enslaved. Though some textbooks on slavery and slave codes refer to enslaved people simply as workers, they were not simply workers. They were treated as an underclass, and the legal system perpetuated that underclass status for economic and prejudicial reasons. Learning about slave codes makes all of this profoundly clear. Slave codes were laws and policies developed during the colonial period to restrict the movement and freedoms of Black people. Though they were called slave codes, many times they were applied to free Black people as well. Remember that the distinction between Negro and enslaved was essentially meaningless during this time. The primary reason the slave codes were implemented was to explicitly and legally reinforce the racial hierarchy within the colonies. Slave codes were a method of protecting the investment of white enslavers by restricting the lives of enslaved people in almost every imaginable way. The codes restricted enslaved people's ability to move around or engage in commerce that would make them financially independent. They basically restricted the very opportunities that would allow them to live with even relative freedom. When there were hints of enslaved people questioning their status, or even the possibility of someone planning a revolt, new slave codes were quickly passed to prevent such a thing from happening. Virginia was the first of the 13 colonies to implement large-scale slave codes. Since the United States was not quite the United States yet, each colony had their own version of these codes. At the time, they were not yet even referred to as slave codes, but even without the formal title, their purpose remained the same: to fundamentally restrict the rights of Black Americans, free and enslaved, and to explicitly deny them the rights afforded to white members of society. Let's take a look at an example. In 1662, Virginia passed this statute: whereas some doubts have arisen whether children got by any Englishman upon a Negro woman should be slave or free, be it therefore enacted and declared by this present Grand Assembly that all children born in this country shall be held bond or free only according to the condition of the mother, and that if any Christian shall commit fornication with a Negro man or woman, he or she so offending shall pay double the fines imposed by the former act. After Elizabeth Key's case in 1656, which we talked about last episode, the Virginia House of Burgesses passed this official law. It mandated what's known as partis sequitur ventrum, determining one's enslaved status based on their mother's labor status, as the legal method to determine whether an individual is enslaved or not. Some scholars, such as Jennifer L. Morgan, posit that it was actually Key's freedom suit that drove the Virginia House of Burgesses to create this law in the first place, a law that was also designed to discourage intimate interracial relations between Black and white people in the colonies. Virginia didn't just stop there. In 1705, Virginia passed another law dedicated to regulating the movement and behavior of enslaved people. It was called an Act Concerning Servants and Slaves. This act banned Black people from owning white servants and penalized those who presided over the marriage between a white and Black person. It banned enslaved people from owning weapons. Other laws around the same time banned Black people, regardless of their servitude status, from testifying against whites in court. You might think that in a country where those same colonists would soon be demanding freedom while espousing the importance of liberty and equality for themselves, that those same people would be a bit more, concerned about liberty and equality for everyone. But the truth is, America's promise and America's actions are very often inconsistent. Let's go to the thought bubble. In 1671, Maryland passed a law stating that even if an enslaved person converted to Christianity, that conversion did not change their servitude status. This was important because of the legal debate around whether Christians could be enslaved. In a place like South Carolina, well, they built a whole society around slave codes. They did it, as they all did, for both economic and societal reasons. These codes banned Black people from engaging in any type of trade, did not allow for enslaved folks to travel without notes from their enslaver, banned enslaved Black Americans from keeping loud instruments like drums and horns, and gave law enforcement the authority to search enslaved Black people and to whip them if they appeared to be engaging in what was deemed disorderly behavior. Many of these codes showed up after slave rebellions, when enslavers were particularly interested in protecting themselves and their property from enslaved people who wanted their freedom. And slave codes weren't just in the southern colonies. New York, for example, had their own set of these laws. A 1702 slave code in New York banned people from trading with enslaved people at all. It also prohibited 3 or more enslaved people from meeting together at the same time. From 1703 to 1704, Rhode Island banned the enslaved from being out after 9 o'clock at night unless they had what was deemed a lawful excuse. Pennsylvania, they also had infamous slave codes. Punishment for offenses committed by white and black people could be deeply and even lethally unequal. While a certain offense committed by a white person might result with them being whipped or branded, a black person charged with committing a similar offense might be killed. Thanks, Thought Bubble. White colonists worked overtime to make sure that the law was used to hurt and constrain black Americans, just because of the color of their skin and their place in the American economy. In early colonial history, white indentured servants and enslaved black people actually had somewhat similar positions in society. But as we've seen in this episode, that wouldn't last. Colonial governments created specific laws that would clearly and legally demarcate what rights a white person could have and which rights a black person could have. Or perhaps, more appropriately, which rights they couldn't have. I'm sure that many people look at these laws and are appalled that such things ever passed. But it's important to note that while today such discrimination might not be explicitly stated in the language of the law itself, laws across the country have different implications and are often enforced differently based on someone's race. This impacts jobs and housing and our criminal legal system, our schools. The list goes on. Looking back, it can be hard to stomach that our country ever implemented these horrific slave codes. But it's important to note that, as is the case throughout Black American history, people pushed back against these laws because they knew they were wrong. Later in this series, we're going to learn about the myriad ways that Black people have resisted these injustices over time. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Crash Course is made with the help of all these nice people, and our animation team is Thoughtcatcher. Crash Course is a Complexly production. If you'd like to keep Crash Course free for everybody, forever, you can support the series at Patreon.
All right, y'all. So I left some of that up there on the screen because one of the most important things for me to do is not only do I want to educate and show pertinent content and information to bring forth to you on my channel, but I also want to uplift and boost the individuals who have created this content. And so I want to take this moment to shout out to Crash Course, who I actually have contacted directly and have asked permission to use their content. And they gave me full open, you know what I mean, privilege to do so. And so I just thought that that was really amazing and beautiful of that platform to do. Because when we're talking about this type of content, we want to bring this type of set history forward. You know, I think it's great that we can work together to do it. So y'all, if you have not checked out the channel, Crash Course, y'all, please go over and check out that channel. Please subscribe to them. And okay, well, give me just a second, y'all. I think I have to fix a few things. Oh, one moment.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let it ring out loud. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Like the mighty waters. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. We remember it all. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Hope is alive, yeah. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on. Let's keep marching till victory is won. Stony the road we trod. Bitter the casting rock. But we're still here.
All right, y'all. I'm so sorry. I really apologize about that. I was just having some technical difficulties here with some of my software and my hardware. Y'all know how that stuff can go. They're on Wi-Fi, computer, StreamYard, YouTube, all of the stuff. So you be having problems sometimes, y'all. So I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties. So I apologize, y'all. If you can just rock with me for just a little bit, I'm gonna play y'all a few songs as I get everything reset up and I get it fixed, and then we can move forward with the live. I really do apologize. I know how inconvenient that can be. So I really do I can't say it enough. Apologize for that. Let me go ahead and play y'all another song real quick as I'm getting all of these things fixed, okay? Sorry about that, y'all. I'll be right back.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring. Ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let it ring out loud. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Like the mighty waters. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. We remember it all. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Hope is alive, yeah. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let
so let's see if I can find them here for you.
It was known as the Slave Code, a system of laws and punishments which would become the model for slavery in America.
This volume makes it very clear that Africans were property, they were not individual human beings. And the question might occur, why were laws needed? Well, a very simple situation occurs where within 20 years of the establishment of a sugar economy in the island, the enslaved population outnumbered in a very significant way the white plantocracy. And they felt the need for a certain level of control.
Shortly after getting into the colony, you see change over time where the majority of the population are people of African descent. And so these English colonists are controlling their property. So they create these slave codes that dictate status, limits of freedom, what types of abuses can be imparted upon people of African descent if they attempt to run away or if they are seen as unruly.
If any Negro or slave whatsoever shall offer any violence to any Christian by striking or the like, such Negro or slave shall for his or her first offense be severely whipped by the constable. For a second offense of that nature, he shall be severely whipped, his nose slit, and be burned in some part of his face with a hot iron.
We shall overcome. Through the fire and the rain, we still run. We shall overcome. They can't eclipse the light of the sun. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday. Right. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Just a ticking clock and a dark slip pad. But someday feels like it's slipping away. 2020's fixed and we're back in the fray. Yo, look, it's 2026 and the cycle is vicious. They're erasing the progress, making us suspicious. Rolling back the DII, cutting the light, targeting the cities in the middle of the night. I see the ice ages moving through the Twin Cities. Another life lost, no mercy, no pity. They say merit-based, but we know the code. It's a heavy weight, it's a long dark road. They're taking King's name, but they're killing the dream. Dismantling the systems, or so it would seem. From the border to the block, the tension is rising, but the spirit of the people, man, is still enterprising. We reclaim the day, we reclaim the street. You can hear the revolution in the pulse of the beat. They want us divided, they want us in fear. shall overcome someday. We're still here, 2026, still fighting. Someday is now. We shall overcome. Through the fire and the rain, we still run. We shall overcome. They can't eclipse the light of the sun. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday. Right. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Just a ticking clock and a dark sip pad. But someday feels like it's slipping away. 2020's fixed and we're back in the fray. Yo, look, it's 2026 and the cycle is vicious. They're erasing the progress, making us suspicious. Rolling back the DII, cutting the light, targeting the cities in the middle of the night. I see the ice ages moving through the Twin Cities. Another life lost, no mercy, no pity. They say merit-based, but we know the code. It's a heavy weight, it's a long dark road. They're taking King's name, but they're killing the dream. Dismantling the systems, or so it would seem. From the border to the block, the tension is rising, but the spirit of the people, man, is still enterprising. We reclaim the day, we reclaim the street. You can hear the revolution in the pulse of the beat. They want us divided, they want us in fear, but the voice of the warrior is perfectly clear. No queen and a G for the ones who oppress. We're standing for the truth, nothing more, nothing less. Whether it's the legal gaps or the climate in crisis, our resilience is the gold, and that's what the price is. We shall overcome. We won't back down. We shall overcome. We hold the ground. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We're still here, 2026, still fighting. Someday is now.
All right, y'all. So I got some of those technical difficulties worked out. I do apologize about that yet again. All right, so we're gonna move on now to our second video and lesson historically that I wanted to talk about on this live. And so that is going to be about the Germantown petitions of 1688, the moral warning. So the history goes, a group of 4 men in Pennsylvania looked at the slave codes and said, this is wrong. They warned that if you treat people like cattle, you lose your own soul. They were ignored for over 150 years, but they were the first to put this protest into writing. This petition proves that everyone was doing it. Excuse is a lie. People knew that it was evil from the very beginning, but some people did not want to speak up. Now, if we look in the modern mirror today, we see this in human rights petitions against modern day fast fashion or tech companies using child labor in cobalt mines. We still have small groups of people shouting into the wind while the majority chooses convenience over conscience. And that is the listen for this next portion that we'll be playing on the live. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. We will watch it together, y'all. And per usual, I will meet y'all in the chat. And what do I typically say? And we know to be true. It seems like history just continues to repeat itself. And so I just like to show a little bit of the history and a little bit of the current, and we can make the correlation between the two for ourselves. Let's get into this video, y'all. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat.
Welcome to the appendix, where we read the primary sources of the past so that you can better understand the present. Today's primary resource, the earliest protest against slavery, Resolutions of Germantown, Mennonites, February 18th, 1688. Negro slavery was first introduced to the English colonies in America in 1619. Though the number of Negro slaves in the 17th century was comparatively small, there was some protest against the institution, especially from the Quakers and Mennonites. The protest of 1688 is the earliest known protest against slavery in the American colonies. This is to the monthly meeting held at Richard Worrell's. These are the reasons why we are against the traffic of men body, as followeth. Is there any that would be done or handled at this manner, viz., to be sold or made a slave for all the time of his life? How fearful and faint-hearted are many at sea when they see a strange vessel, being afraid it should be a Turk, and they should be taken and sold for slaves into Turkey. Now, what is this better done than Turks do? Yea, rather it is worse for them, which say that they are Christians. For we hear that the most part of such Negroes are brought hither against their will and consent, and that many of them are stolen. Now, though they are black, we cannot conceive there is more liberty to have them slaves, as it is to have other white ones. There is a saying that we should do to all men like as we will be done ourselves, making no difference of what generation, descent, or color they are. And those who steal or rob men, and those who buy or purchase them, are they not all alike? Here's the liberty of conscience, which is right and reasonable.
All right, y'all. So that's just a quick intro. Let's go ahead and get into this next video real quick. I'm going to get that one pulled up for y'all. Give me just a moment. And I want to give y'all an intro so you can hear a little bit of that perspective as far as what, they're talking about. But I also want to give y'all one, and y'all know how I am. I like to give it to you so where we can listen to it and it's making proper sense, but it also has a little bit of sprinkle on it. You know what I'm saying? You got to have that sprinkle. So let's go ahead and get into that real quick, y'all. This is the second one that I wanted to show y'all when it comes to this topic, and we talking about Germantown. Let's go ahead and put some funk on it. We'll get into that, and I'll meet y'all over in the chat again.
Welcome to Germantown, also known as Freedom's Backyard. This neighborhood is so full of American history that I'm not even sure we'll be able to cover it all. Really, it is where Philadelphia's only Revolutionary War battle was fought. where the first American protest against slavery was written and where so many stories of freedom are told. And it's only a scenic drive or a train ride away from Philadelphia's Center City.
All right, y'all, hold on 1 second. Let me restart real quick. It's having some type of audio issue or something like that. Let me check and see what's going on. Hold on. Let me go back to the beginning. All right.
Welcome to Germantown, also known as Freedom's Backyard. This neighborhood is so full of American history that I'm not even sure we'll be able to cover it all. Really, it is where Philadelphia's only Revolutionary War battle was fought, where the first American protest against slavery was written, and where so many stories of freedom are told. And it's only a scenic drive or a train ride away from Philadelphia's Center City.
All right, y'all, hold on 1 second because they still seem to be having some type of audio issues going on here on StreamYard, y'all. So I don't know. I'm trying to fix it the best way I can. I do apologize. Let me see. Hold on. Give me just a second, y'all. Let's see. Let's move right along because, you know, I don't like to waste people's time. You know how that goes. We have our time is precious. We got things to do. So I don't have time for all of these sound issues and stuff like that.
We're here in the heart of the colonial Germantown Historic District. This is the Johnson House. Let's go inside. As a station of the Underground Railroad, this building and buildings like this around the city brought countless numbers of people to their freedom from slavery.
Having these historical landmarks kind of right under your nose, that's incredible.
This is a stairway that leads to the actual attic where fugitive enslaved Africans would hide out.
You can literally feel the history on the ground.
It's crazy how much history is here. It's a powerful place. Harriet Tubman has been rumored to have come through here. I think there's record of William Still having come through here. This is an iconic crossroads because so many people's narratives have taken place here.
It really allows people who want to learn about the history of, African Americans in this country, kind of come here and see it for themselves and experience it.
I mean, that's exactly what makes Philadelphia so great, man. There's so much living, breathing history here. When you're talking about Philadelphia, you always hear Liberty Bell and stuff like that. But a lot of people are unaware of Old 7th Ward, one of the oldest, if not the oldest, African-American communities in the nation.
I mean, you look behind us, we got Mother Bethel here.
The Mother Church. This is the first African Methodist Episcopal church, and now it's a historic landmark.
It's amazing.
You know, some of the great minds of history spent time here in the 7th Ward, one of whom is W.E.B. Du Bois, who documented a huge sociological study, which is some of his most important work.
To know that one of the greatest minds, you know, in our time and times before us, felt as though that he had to come here to learn about our people. It's definitely a testament to what Philadelphia is and has been in the books of history.
I say once a Philadelphian, always a Philadelphian. We got you.
Germantown Avenue, Philadelphia. Considered the most historic street in America, it traces its origins to a Lenni Lenape footpath that became the Great Road, and eventually Germantown Avenue, in an expanding German settlement from 1683 onwards. Only 5 years later, the first written protests against the institution of slavery in the British colonies was written along the avenue, a harbinger of the many roles this street was to play. During the Revolutionary War, the Battle of Germantown was fought along the avenue, and subsequently the nation's first president briefly resided on the avenue in what is today known as the Germantown White House. Philadelphia's only fully documented Underground Railroad station was located on the avenue. Visitors can still enter the side door where fugitive slaves slipped in and climb the stairs to the attic where they slept. Germantown Avenue was the center of Philadelphia's industrial manufacturing boom in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Today, however, the remnants of that era largely consist of abandoned factories and depopulated communities. Few areas in the city were more devastated by this industrial decline than the southeastern half of the avenue. While many visitors today come to visit the historic sites along the avenue and to savor the upscale liveliness of Chestnut Hill, students and other readers around the country are getting a unique introduction to Germantown Avenue in a book by University of Pennsylvania sociologist Elijah Anderson, entitled Code of the Street. Subtitled Decency, Violence, and the Moral Life of the Inner City, Anderson's book has won widespread praise for its insightful exploration of the sources of the decay of public space and the pervasiveness of inner city violence. Anderson's book opens with a chapter in which he takes his readers on a tour down the 8.5-mile avenue. Writes Anderson, Germantown Avenue provides an excellent cross-section of the social ecology of a major American city. The story of Germantown Avenue can therefore serve in many respects as a metaphor for the whole city. I'm Bob Wood. Each spring semester, I introduce students to Elijah Anderson's book in my social stratification course at Rutgers Camden, just across the river from Philadelphia. Last spring, I casually mentioned that I thought it would be interesting to make a short film to assist readers of the book in visualizing the terrain that Anderson describes in his introductory chapter. Two students, James Flatley and Etienne Jackson, took up the challenge, and this is their effort to document the journey down this historic but troubled avenue.
We start our journey, as does Elijah Anderson in his introductory chapter in Chestnut Hill at the northwest end of the avenue. Along with Germantown, Chestnut Hill has been part of Philadelphia since 1854 and grew up as a garden suburb of wealthy estates at the end of the train line. Traveling along its cobblestone streets today, we see a broad array of storefronts that are nicely kept, elaborately designed, and usually tailored towards leisure goods, health foods, day spas, and other services. Often called a suburb in the city, Chestnut Hill, with its bookstores, hotels, and upscale establishments, seems to provide the best of both worlds to many people. In Code of the Street, however, Chestnut Hill is above all a place where a code of civility reigns, where people work at maintaining social harmony in a racially integrated setting, as in the well-known farmers market and in the public spaces along the avenue. The avenue, writes Anderson, is a natural continuum characterized largely by a code of civility at one end and a code of conduct regulated by the threat of violence, the code of the street, at the other. He adds, but the people living along this continuum make their own claims on civility and the street as well. We found this very much to be true as we traveled along the avenue from Chestnut Hill down to North Philadelphia and beyond. The general trend is away from the dominance of civility and towards the dominance of the code of the street, but there are many pockets of resistance and renewal as well. And even in Chestnut Hill, instances of violence do break the calm periodically. On our visits, we saw a relaxed public sphere, complete with a church bake sale. Chestnut Hill is a community defined more by class than by race, although Anderson definitely explores the complex racial dynamics that lie below the surface. Middle-class, professional white and blacks enjoy the cosmopolitan and upscale environment of the place, where even the local convenience store and the McDonald's exhibit a distinct touch of class. Here we leave Chestnut Hill for the next neighborhood along Germantown Avenue, known as Mount Airy. More racially mixed and much more economically diverse than Chestnut Hill, Mount Airy juxtaposes historic large stone houses with storefront churches and businesses targeting the poor. We pass a large and historic nursing home, and then the playground on the left Anderson describes a generally integrated and easygoing place, but one where, he says, it is prudent to be wary. Germantown Avenue in Mount Airy goes past a number of historic buildings going back to the colonial period, several of which were focal points in the Battle of Germantown during the Revolutionary War. We pass through a commercial center with a once ornate movie theater that is now a community cultural center, struggling to restore a dilapidated interior. The first signs of a Muslim presence that becomes accentuated further on along the avenue comes into view. Gradually the street begins to change. The nature of the businesses change, and many display riot gates and exterior bars. Their patrons are mostly poor and black. Exploring the side streets reveals, as Anderson observes, that the area is more diverse and better off than the avenue suggests. Both black and white middle-class residents tend to do their shopping elsewhere.
Past Mount Airy, we enter the neighborhood known as Germantown. Just above Germantown High School, the once proud and integrated high school now draws mainly poor black students and is often in the news for shootings, stabbings, and lunchroom brawls. On one visit, we spoke with police officers assigned to the area who were anticipating a fight to occur once school was let out. The officers joked about how violent the school was, as if violence and education went hand in hand here. Discount and liquor stores serve as after-school hangouts. Students leaving and returning to school are often stopped and questioned by the police stationed out front.
All right, y'all. So that was just a few things that I wanted to show y'all as far as the history behind Georgetown. And so now we will be moving on, and we'll be talking about our next topic, which is going to be the Stono Rebellion of 1739. The price of resistance, the history behind it. 20 England men broke into a store, took weapons, and marched south for freedom. They weren't rioting. They were a disciplined military unit fighting for their lives. The white militia responded with a level of violence intended to scare the spirit of resistance out of every other enslaved person. The Stono Rebellion shows us that Black people have never been docile or accepting of their fate. They have always been freedom fighters. Now, if we look at things in the modern mirror, today, this looks like the militarized of the police during peaceful protests. When marginalized people stand up for their rights, the response is often an overwhelming show of state force designed to send a message rather than to maintain peace. And so we're going to go ahead and get into that video in just a moment after this song break. But thank y'all so much for joining me. And hey, Carlos, what's up, boo? Thanks for coming in. Let me take a quick song break real quick, y'all, and we will get into the next video in just a moment. I've been having some software and hardware issues, I guess, y'all. I had to fix them, but I think we got them fixed now. So we'll be getting to the next video in just a moment after this song break. We will be right back.
A roof above, a shelter from the storm, a gentle hand to keep a spirit warm, a plate of food, a mind that's free to learn, a simple peace, a righteous wage to earn. These are the needs, the bedrock and the base, the sacred ground of the whole human race. But the screaming and selling something cheap, while the real world babies cry themselves to sleep. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator is where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hate purposes and the loaded dice. We're human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. They're painting pictures, twisted and real, teaching our children how they ought to feel. Their values in the label on your shoes, or the filtered life you desperately choose. They magnify the hate, they celebrate the greed, and plant a poison, a suffocating weed. We gotta reach our children, pull them from the glow, and show them a beauty that the media don't know. Yo, check the vision, the mission of the television, spitting division, a mental prison. Got the youth chasing likes, addicted to the feed, ignoring the hunger, the fundamental need. They building paper idols on a digital stage, putting our future daughters in a virtual cage. Now we gotta break the cycle, gotta cut the cord. The real word is powerful, mightier than the sword. So we teach them about their history, teach them about their grace, teach them about the power in every single face. We are human, blood and bone and soul, with a right to be loved, a right to be made whole. This is our story, this is our sacred song. In the eyes of the Creator, it's where we all belong. We are human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. Human, worth more than they can price, beyond the hateful whispers and the loaded dice. We will build a world where every voice is heard and valued. Yeah. And truth is not a whisper, but a mighty thundering word. A word of justice, a word of peace, a promise that the fight will never cease. This ain't just a track, this a call to action for every mother, father, every single fraction of the community holding it down on the ground. Time to get loud, make a revolutionary sound. Look your child in the eye, tell them that they matter, tell them their spirit's something that no lie can shatter. Tell them knowledge is the weapon, love is the shield, and the truth is the harvest we gonna grow in this field. Yeah! We are human! Yes, we are! Teach the children near and far. Let them know their sacred work. Fight for every single soul on this a right to live, a gift to get.
All right, y'all. So thank you so much for rocking with me with that little song break. So just a quick reminder of the next video that I'm going to play for y'all for us to watch together. We'll be talking about the Stono Rebellion of 1739, the price of resistance. So the history behind that is 20 Anglo men broke into a store, took weapons, and marched south for freedom. They weren't rioting, they were disciplined military units fighting for their lives. The white militia responded with a level of violence, which they typically do, intended to scare the spirit of the resistance out of every other enslaved person. The Stono Rebellion shows us that Black people have never been docile or accepting of their fates. They have always been freedom fighters. And in today's modern mirror, the way it looks is that this militarized of police during peaceful protest. When marginalized people stand up for what is right and what their rights are, the response is often an overwhelming show of state of force designed to send a message rather than to maintain that said peace. Do y'all understand what I'm saying by that? Because, sometimes you got to break it down and you got to say it for exactly what it is. So we're seeing right now, right, even in our current administration and what is happening in our world, that there is a lot of things that are happening that do have a lot of racial base to them. Okay, let's be very clear about that. And we see that people are fighting up. Now, the number one race of people that we know was fighting up was Black people. Let's be very clear about that. And that has happened in history. And as we are watching today, it is continuing to happen because we have to continue to fight. Our fight never ends. Our fight never ended. We've always been fighting. Other people are joining the fight, and that's great and that's good as well. But yeah, Black people been fighting since day one. And so what happens is when you do that, they try to make you out to be like you are a criminal of some kind and that you're doing something wrong. But you are fighting for what is right. You are fighting for your life. You are fighting so you can make it home to your children and your family. But there's also a resistance that's out there fighting too. And they don't want to see you get home to your family. They don't want to see you fight for what's right, right? Even when it has to come to a physical fight. And so we are talking about even when it's not physical and it's peaceful and people are just marching and just speaking and holding their signs during peaceful protests, standing up for their rights. What a lot of time is the response that we're seeing today. It's typically an overwhelming show of a state of force that is designed to send a message, not to maintain the peace, right, amongst what's being marched for, fought for, spoken up for. No, these are individuals that want to hurt and harm you for speaking up for what is right. And this typically is happening when groups of people that may not be, minorities, let's just say that, minorities, fighting and standing for what's right and getting met with abuse, right? Even when it comes to a peaceful protest. And so we see individuals, and yes, not only now are we seeing Black people being met with this level of animosity and abuse and anger and hostility, now we're seeing that it's happening to anybody who just stands up and speaks up for what's right, right? So let's go ahead and get into this video real quick, y'all, because that's the correlation of it all. When you stand up for what's right, when you speak out for what's right, and you fight against the wrong, what are we seeing? We've seen it historically, which is about what we're about to watch here together in this video. And we're seeing it in current day. Interesting. Let's get into it. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat.
Have you ever heard of the Stono Rebellion? It's a story that often gets overlooked in history class, but it's one of the most significant and dramatic events in the history of colonial America. It's a story about a desperate fight for freedom, the brutal reality of slavery, and how a single day in 1739 changed the course of history in the American South. Stick with me, because this isn't just a dry history lesson. It's a powerful story of human courage against impossible odds. Let's set the scene. It's September 1739, just outside of Charlestown, which we now know as Charleston, South Carolina. This colony was built on the back of rice cultivation, an incredibly labor-intensive crop, And who did that labor? Enslaved people primarily brought from West and Central Africa. By the 1730s, the enslaved population in South Carolina dramatically outnumbered the white colonists, creating a constant simmering tension. The white minority lived in perpetual fear of an uprising, and they had good reason to be. The conditions for the enslaved were horrific. They worked from sunup to sundown in snake-infested malarial swamps, often standing in water for hours. Their lives were controlled by a brutal system of laws known as slave codes, which stripped them of all basic human rights. But these were not passive victims. They were people with rich cultural backgrounds, military experience from their homelands, and an unquenchable desire for freedom. They resisted in countless ways, slowing down work, breaking tools, and, most importantly, running away. So, what lit the spark for the Stono Rebellion? A major factor was a place just to the south, Spanish Florida. The Spanish, who were rivals of the British, had a very strategic policy. In 1733, the King of Spain issued a proclamation promising freedom to any enslaved person from the British colonies who could make it to St. Augustine. This wasn't necessarily born from a love of humanity. It was a clever way to destabilize the British colonies and bolster their own defenses. They even established a town for these freed people called Gracia Real de Santa Teresa de Mose, or Fort Mose, the first free black settlement in what would become the United States. News of this sanctuary spread like wildfire through the plantations of South Carolina. For the enslaved, Florida wasn't just a place on a map. It was a beacon of hope, a tangible promise of liberty. This promise was especially appealing to a group of enslaved people from the Kingdom of Congo in Central Africa. Many Congolese people had been captured in civil wars back home and had military training. They were also often Catholic, which gave them a cultural connection to the Spanish. Among them was a leader, an illiterate man whose name is believed to have been Jemmy. The timing was also critical. In late 1739, a yellow fever epidemic was sweeping through Charlestown, weakening the white population. At the same time, Great Britain and Spain were on the brink of war, which later became known as the War of Jenkins's Ear. The enslaved people knew this. They understood that the conflict between the colonial powers created a window of opportunity. They weren't just reacting, they were strategizing. And so on Sunday, September 9th, 1739, the plan was put into motion. The day was deliberately chosen. Most white colonists would be in church, unarmed, as a recent law required them to carry their guns everywhere except to church. Early that morning, Jemmy and about 20 of his followers gathered near the Stono River. Their first stop was Hutchinson's store, a local shop that also served as an armory. They stormed the store, killed the 2 storekeepers, and seized the guns and ammunition inside. Now armed, their rebellion began in earnest. They were not a disorganized mob. They marched south, heads held high, moving with a purpose. Witnesses reported they marched in a military formation with 2 rows of men, flying banners and beating drums to a rhythm that mimicked Congolese military traditions. They shouted liberty. As they moved, their call echoing through the plantations. Their drumming and shouts weren't just for morale. They were a signal, calling other enslaved people to join their cause, and many did. As they marched down the main road, their numbers swelled from 20 to 60 and eventually to nearly 100 men and women. Their path was one of fire and fury. They marched from plantation to plantation, burning the homes of their enslavers and killing those who stood in their way. However, it's crucial to note that they were not indiscriminate. According to one account, they spared an innkeeper named Wallace, who was known to be a kind man. This detail shows us their fight was not against all white people, but against the system of slavery and those who upheld it. Their destination was clear: St. Augustine, Florida, freedom. For several hours, they were unstoppable. They had the element of surprise and a clear objective. But their luck was about to run out. South Carolina's Lieutenant Governor, William Bull, happened to be riding his horse through the area. I saw the marching group and immediately understood what was happening. He rode for his life, avoiding capture and spreading the alarm to other plantation owners in the local militia. The alarm was raised, and a militia, numbering around 100 men, was quickly assembled. They were planters, slave owners, and overseers' men whose entire way of life was threatened by this uprising. They caught up with the rebels in the late afternoon. By this point, Jemmy's group had paused in a field to rest after marching nearly 10 miles. They were exhausted but determined. The battle that followed was brutal and one-sided. The rebels, though courageous, were outgunned and outnumbered by the well-armed mounted militia. The militia fired a volley into the crowd, and chaos erupted. In the ensuing fight, more than 20 white colonists and over 40 of the enslaved rebels were killed. The rebellion, which had begun with so much hope that morning, was crushed by sunset. But the story doesn't end there. Some of the rebels managed to escape into the swamp. For the next week, the militia, aided by Native American trackers, hunted them down. The retribution was swift and merciless. Those who were captured were executed without trial. Their heads were cut off and placed on stakes along the public roads, a gruesome warning to anyone else who might dare to dream of freedom. The hunt for escapees continued for months, with the last participant being captured nearly 3 years later. The Stono Rebellion sent a shockwave of terror through the white population of the South. Their worst nightmare had come true. The rebellion was over, but the fear it instilled would shape the future of the entire region. The immediate response from the colonial government was to crack down hard. In 1740, South Carolina passed a new set of laws known as the Negro Act. This was one of the most restrictive slave codes ever enacted in the American colonies. The Negro Act of 1740 was designed to prevent anything like the Stono Rebellion from ever happening again. It made it illegal for enslaved people to assemble in groups, to earn their own money, to learn to read and write, or to grow their own food. It even restricted their clothing and banned the use of drums, which the colonists correctly identified as a powerful tool for communication. The law essentially tried to legislate every single aspect of an enslaved person's life, stripping away any remaining shred of autonomy. It also temporarily halted the importation of new slaves from Africa, fearing the arrival of more people with military backgrounds like the Congolese. The Stono Rebellion ultimately failed to achieve its goal of reaching Florida. In fact, it resulted in even more oppressive conditions for enslaved people across the South. So was it all for nothing? Absolutely not. The rebellion is a powerful testament to the enduring human spirit and the relentless pursuit of freedom. It showed that enslaved people were not just property. They were active agents in their own lives who were willing to risk everything for a chance at liberty. The legacy of Stono is complex. It led to harsher laws and greater oppression, but it also lived on in the memory of the enslaved community as an act of ultimate resistance. The story of Jemmy and his followers became a symbol of courage, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the fight for freedom never truly dies. It forces us to confront the brutal reality of slavery and to recognize the incredible bravery of those who fought against it. Their march for liberty on that September day in 1739 is a vital, though often forgotten, chapter in the American story. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this critical piece of history. If you found this story as powerful as I do, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel.
All right, y'all. So that was a great video that I just wanted to show you. Basically, like we were talking about the Stono Rebellion of 1739. And we are talking about 1739. Now, I want y'all to think about that. It is 2026. And a lot of the things that we heard in that video, and as far as how things play out in current day of 2026, can we not agree as a collective, as a group, that these same things are happening the exact same way? That we are still fighting for the same things. We see, okay? We see this in the criminalization of protest. And we know right now, speaking on today, what is the biggest protest of today, y'all? Well, if you're not sure or familiar, I will tell you. It is the No Kings protest. And we know that that protest is happening right now because of everything that we're seeing in our current administration with Trump and all of his people moving and operating in a country that is supposed to be a democracy. But it's not giving that. So many of people worldwide, let's be very clear about that. Not just in the US, but worldwide, have taken to the streets for the No Kings protest. There are countries that are doing their own protesting because they don't like what they're seeing as well. And they also want change in their own countries. Most of it is US, of course, but there are countries that are joining in as well. And I think that is how we know that we are moving forward as a society, as a people, because worldwide we see what is happening to one another. And we no longer want to stand by it, and we no longer want to see it brought to fruition. So we see that this is the criminalization of protest. Now we can talk about the Black race because it's, we're talking about Black history. When Black communities rise up against state violence today, the media often labels it as a riot rather than a rebellion. The legislative response, like modern anti-protest laws, is a direct descendant of the 1740 Negro Act that was passed immediately after Stono to further strip Black people of the rights to assemble. And can we ask ourselves, is this the reason why we can't stand together? Is this the reason why we don't stick together? We can't necessarily be sure. But historically, it was a thing. And when we're watching things play out in real time, seems like history continues to repeat itself. But let's move on to our next topic and talk about Phillis Wheatley and the trial of the Black mind. So, historical death. In 1772, 18 of the most powerful white men in Boston, including the governor, put an 18-year-old Black girl on trial to see if she was capable of writing her own book. Thomas Jefferson himself later wrote that her poetry was below the dignity of criticism, simply because he could not accept that a Black person possessed the reason required for citizenship. Phillis had to prove her humanity through her intellect, yet her intellect was used as proof that she was the exception rather than the rule. How is this playing out in modern connection? This is the foundation of DEI backlash and overqualification. Black women today are the most educated demographic in the United States, yet they still face qualification interrogations in corporate spaces, especially. When we succeed, we are often told we are articulate or we are lucky, rather than being recognized as the standard for excellence. So let's go ahead and take a quick song break, and then we'll get into this next video, y'all. We will be right back.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light? It's a new day. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Through the perilous fight. All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, let it shine. The bombs bursting in air, we won't back down. Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Wait for justice.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this next video. And like I told y'all, we will be talking about Phillis Wheatley, the trial of the Black Mom. Let's go ahead and hear a little bit in this video, and I will meet y'all in the chat. This is only about 5 minutes. All right, here we go.
Legacy of slavery certainly is something that a lot of white Americans are uneasy with. Blacks were supposedly less human than whites. They were able to marry and have children. Their children were taken from them and sold as commodities. All of these facts really just would sit on your life and make you feel that you were not worth anything, that you were not human. And it just totally crushed the human spirit. The British offered freedom to slaves that joined the army. I think that most sensible people would try to use that. 1776. The British, aided by black loyalists, are winning the war, while General Washington, a strident slave owner, won't allow enslaved people to join the fight. But that doesn't stop a woman named Phillis Wheatley from supporting the cause. She's not fighting on the front lines, but to me, she plays an important role in the revolution.
She is born a free person in West Africa. When she's around 7 or 8 years old, she's captured. She is put on a slave ship and she's sailed across the Atlantic Ocean. She arrives in 1761 in Boston, and so she's purchased by this family. The name of the ship that she sails on is the Phillis. The family's name is Wheatley, which is how we come to know her as Phillis Wheatley.
The Wheatleys, they encouraged her learning. The general consensus among whites at that time was that people of African descent could not learn. And so part of it, I'm sure, was an experiment to see if this little girl could really learn.
She was amazing. In 16 months after arriving in the colonies, she had mastered the English language as a child. She learned Greek and Latin. And this is at a moment in which most people couldn't read or write across the colonies.
And soon enough, she begins writing these poems. The Wheatleys see pretty immediately that she has this wonderful ability. She has this facility with the English language. And she's supported by the Wheatley family to the point where they decide that they would like to see if they can get a book of her poems published.
In 1773, Phillis publishes her first volume of poetry. Just 20 years old, she's the first African-American, first enslaved person, and only the third woman in America to publish a book of poems. Soon after, the Wheatleys emancipate Phillis. As a free woman, she openly expresses her support for Washington in a letter that gets published in April 1776. I'm going to read from Phillis Wheatley's letter to George Washington. Proceed, great chief, with virtue on thy side. Thy every action let the goddess guide. A crown, a mansion, and a throne that shine, with gold unfading, Washington, be thine.
She writes a letter to George Washington, a known slave owner, and she essentially celebrates him.
And I think that she sees this as a revolution that is going to bring some changes, especially for her own people. So she is encouraging him and hoping and wishing and anticipating great things from George Washington.
She is trying to figure out who is going to be the true champion of liberty. And if it seems like Washington is going to be the champion for liberty, then she wants him to be successful.
One of the things that's so interesting is that George Washington writes back to her in the most respectful of ways. He calls her madam. He praises her for her writing, basically says he couldn't do that, and says, please come, and I would be delighted to entertain you.
Washington signs his letter, I am, with great respect, your humble servant. No one knows for sure if they ever did meet face to face, but that doesn't matter. Phillis Wheatley has made her point. George Washington, I think, realized that the Black people were human beings. People of color are looked down upon until we understand that they're human and they have something to offer. And she could see the effect of her own presence on Washington and understood that maybe more whites could be won over to realize that slavery was an injustice and an evil.
All right, y'all. So that was the end of that video. And so we do have one final video that we'll be getting into as well. And, you know, it's basically a overall video and information in history about the American Revolution. So the grand hypocrisy, okay? So we have to talk about the historical depth of this. This was a war within a war. While George Washington was fighting for independence, he was also hunting down his own enslaved chef, Hercules, and his wife's maid, Una Judge, who ran away to find their own independence. Over 20,000 Black people sided with the British because the British actually offered them freedom, while the Americans only offered them a possibility of freedom that most never saw. The spirit of 76 was a hollow promise for the 500,000 Black people who were still legally property when the war ended. Now, what are the modern connections to all of that? This is seen in the patriotism requirement. Black Americans are expected to be the most loyal to a flag and a constitution that historically and currently fails to protect them equally. We are asked to celebrate Independence Day, July 4th, while June 19th was the actual Independence Day for our ancestors. Let's go ahead and get into this video real quick because I want to show y'all this so we can just see a little bit of the background and the history. After that, I will be back here with y'all to state some of our final thoughts about all of this. So give me just a second to get everything set up here on this video, and I will be right back.
Oh, say, can you see? Look up, child. By the dawn's early light, it's a new day. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Through the perilous fight. All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, let it shine. The bombs bursting in air, we won't back down. Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Wait for justice.
Down freedom shout. By the dawn's early light, it's a new day. What so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming. Hold your head. Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. Through the perilous fight. All the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rockets' red glare, let it shine. The bombs bursting in air, we won't back down. Gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, it's still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
Wait for justice.
All right, y'all. So thanks for rocking with me with that song break. So let's go ahead and get into the video. I like to play that as we were listening to the song because I just think the imagery itself actually worked pretty well with the lyrics within the song. But let's go ahead and listen to the actual history of the video and what they are talking about. We will watch that together. I have two of these videos that I'll be showing y'all on this final part of the live. So let's watch it together and I will meet y'all in the chat. Let's get into it.
When we think of the American Revolution, we imagine patriots in powdered wigs and red coats on the battlefield. But behind that familiar image lies a hidden army. Over 5,000 black men who fought for a freedom that wasn't theirs to claim. Some were enslaved, others were free, yet all were bound by a single burning hope that this new world might finally mean liberty for them. Freedom was the promise on both sides. The British offered liberty to enslaved people who joined their ranks, forming units like the Ethiopian Regiment and engraving their uniforms with three haunting words: liberty to slaves. But others chose to fight for the patriot cause, believing that a nation born in revolution might one day recognize their humanity. Two armies, one dream, freedom. They were the unsung heroes of a divided nation. At Bunker Hill, Peter Salem stood his ground, felling a British major with a single shot. At Charlestown, Salem Poor fought so fiercely that his officers petitioned Congress to honor him for bravery. And in the shadows, James Armistead Lafayette, a man born enslaved, became a double agent, feeding false intelligence to the British and changing the course of Yorktown itself. When the war ended in victory, freedom did not come for all. Many black veterans returned to bondage, their service forgotten, their names erased from the story they helped write. But their courage lit a spark that could never be extinguished, a spark that would burn through centuries until freedom finally meant freedom for all. Want to discover more about the American Revolution? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us here on Deeper History.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into this second video that I wanted to show y'all. As you can see a little bit about, the American Revolution and how a lot of Black soldiers did fight within their war. And we are seeing that we are actually, unfortunately, being placed into the, places and spaces where war is starting again for no real reason. It should be. But what can we do, right? This is where we're at with it. And so I want to go ahead and show y'all this second video of talking a little bit more about, why did a lot of Black soldiers fight for the British during the Revolutionary War? So we're going to get into that in just a moment, y'all. Let me get this video pulled up and put on the screen here for y'all to watch. We will watch that together, and then we will conclude this live for this evening. I believe that right now this is enough for this live. We'll do a few more topics that we'll add into the second one. So many things have just been going wrong with the software and stuff like that. StreamYard's acting dumb. Certain websites are acting dumb, and so it's not moving as smoothly as I typically like it to, y'all. So I do apologize, but we will go ahead and get into this anyway. Listen to this last video together, and then y'all know I'm always gonna come back for another one. So let's play this one, and I'll meet y'all in the chat.
Imagine standing on the front lines of the American Revolution, where the very ideals of freedom and equality are being fought for, but a significant portion of the population, even some of the soldiers beside you, remain shackled by slavery. This was the case in 1775, when the shots fired at Lexington and Concord sparked the Revolutionary War. 500,000 Black people were living in the colonies at the time, 90% of whom were enslaved. But as the war raged, did you know that far more Black men fought for the British loyalists than the American patriots? In an America rampant with slavery and racism, many Black soldiers saw a British victory as their best chance for freedom, and the British promised them liberation in exchange for their service. While some promises were fulfilled, what happened next was much more complex.
You leave to go to the unknown when you are absolutely sure that what's behind you, what you're leaving, is worse. So that kind of impassioned service is always going to have an edge.
This is the story of the broken promises and betrayal that characterized experiences of Black soldiers and how it ultimately shaped the fight for equality in the land of the free. I'm Herney Bott, and this is In the Margins. Black men, both enslaved and free, played a vital role in the Revolutionary War. As news of the battle at Lexington and Concord spread down the East Coast, thousands of soldiers gathered to fight against British forces. Historical records show there were at least 18 Black men, both enslaved and free, engaged in battle that day. This was the informal start of the American Continental Army. In the months that followed, over 14,000 Massachusetts men, including both free and enslaved Black men, enlisted to fight for the Patriots. But by July, George Washington, a Virginia enslaver, took command of the Patriots and excluded Black men from the ranks. His order was rooted in the fear of enslavers losing their valuable property in combat and the potential for an armed rebellion of people who were enslaved.
George Washington, as a Southern plantation owner, this is his worst nightmare. He looks out into his men and he sees brown faces and Black faces. And when he sees the brown and Black faces, he looks at them and he's like, who are these men and who are they going to shoot? So their biggest their fears is that these men, if allowed to continue, would rampage through the colony.
Meanwhile, the British saw an opportunity. Through Dunmore's proclamation on November 7, 1775, John Murray, the royal governor of Virginia, urged enslaved people to escape their captors and join the Loyalist forces. The British saw this as an opportunity to bolster their ranks and weaken the American colonial system.
But Lord Dunmore was not an abolitionist. He was thinking purely military. This wasn't necessarily done as a moral thing. He was a slave owner himself.
Within 1 month, 300 Black men and women had escaped slavery and enlisted. And that number grew into the tens of thousands in the years that followed. Nervous about this influx of Loyalist manpower, Washington lifted his restriction on free Black men. And soon, enslaved men would also enlist, often coerced by their owners. By the end of the war, some 9,000 Black men were fighting for the Patriots. So how did the Patriots persuade Black men to fight for a colonial system that oppressed them? And how did the Loyalists convince people to risk their lives escaping slavery? The answer lies in 3 major promises: fairness, freedom, and land. Let's unpack these promises. First, the promise of fairness. Many Black men expected fair and equal treatment while fighting for the Patriots. This was sometimes true, but not always. Black soldiers mostly received the same pay and provisions as their white counterparts. That said, they often served longer terms than white soldiers, weren't promoted to high rankings, and their pension payments delayed or completely denied when the war was over.
A number of men of color were not given their pensions because they would not believe that they actually served. Unless you brought a white person that could vouch for you, 9 times out of 10, they're going to deny you your pension.
On the Loyalist side, it soon became clear that promises of freedom, more on that later, did not mean fair treatment while serving. Many Black soldiers were relegated to servitude or manual labor jobs in the toughest conditions. Take the Black pioneers, for example. The pioneers were an all-Black British regiment who mostly filled engineering, construction, and labor roles. And they often worked in harsh conditions at the most dangerous battles. Next, the promise of freedom. The Continental Army never promised freedom for military service, but some individual units, like the 1st Rhode Island Regiment, did promise freedom in exchange for service in order to fill their quotas. That said, many were returned to slavery after the war. Take the story of Samuel Sutphin, for example. Sutphin's enslavers sent him to fight for the Patriots in his stead with the promise of freedom after serving. Between 1776 and 1778, Sutphin served in several major battles, receiving accolades as a soldier. But when the war was over, his enslaver reneged on his promise of freedom, and Sutphin remained enslaved for another 20 years. On the British side, Dunmore's proclamation promised freedom for those who escaped slavery and joined their ranks. It sparked a wave of tens of thousands of men and women escaping slavery. However, once safely behind British lines, most of them found themselves in service roles rather than as soldiers. Although a few hundred recruits did form the Ethiopian Regiment, a Black-centered combat unit, and wore uniforms that read "Liberty to Slaves." As the war died down in 1783, the Liberty Promise became a reality for thousands of Black Loyalists. Between April and November that year, 3,500 Black soldiers and their families were relocated to the British colonies of Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, in what would later become the largest concentrated population of free Black individuals outside of Africa. But it didn't take long for discrimination and racism to undermine their newfound liberty. Here, they worked low-paying jobs, including servitude, and had limited access to education, fell victim to hate crimes, and even faced starvation. As for the tens of thousands of Black Loyalists left behind in the American colonies, it turned out that Dunmore's proclamation only intended to free those who had been enslaved by the Patriots and their supporters. In turn, many were recaptured and returned to slavery. Finally, the promise of land. It was 1779, and the British refocused their strategy on the southern colonies. British Commander-in-Chief Sir Henry Clinton then promised the ultimate protection: freedom and land to any Black man or woman who joined their army. But it quickly became another broken promise. Nearly 30,000 white soldiers relocated to Nova Scotia too, and they were prioritized for land grants. Many Black loyalists didn't receive any land at all. And for those that did, their plots weren't only smaller, but the British government didn't provide titles to them, meaning they did not own the land they lived on.
They also could not afford to have things like getting their land surveyed so they can develop their land. So even though they might have had land, it was poorly developed.
The experiences of Black soldiers during the Revolutionary War revealed a troubling contrast between the era's ideals of freedom and the harsh, enduring reality of racism. But their experience had far-reaching consequences, like the 1792 exodus of over 1,000 Black loyalists to Sierra Leone to establish a colony called Freetown, and inspiring the U.S. abolition movement. Figures like Prince Hall emerged, who went on to push for the end of the slave trade. And the legacy of these soldiers, their contributions, hopes, and disappointments still resonates today.
Our military service throughout history, although people always forget how well we performed, but I feel like, that buildup of history eventually resulted in a lot of the civil rights that we are now able to enjoy.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. drew on rhetoric from the American Revolution in his speeches, urging Black Americans to reclaim the spirit of resistance. Our only hope today lies in our ability to recapture the revolutionary spirit and go out into a sometimes hostile world, declaring eternal hostility to poverty, racism, and militarism. And in 2017, the government of Nova Scotia announced it would invest $3 million in helping the Black population finally secure legal title to their land. As the war progressed, it became clear that despite championing freedom and equality for themselves, neither the colonists nor the British truly sought to extend those ideals to the some 500,000 Black Americans living in the colonies. Not only were countless promises broken along the way, but the 3/5 compromise enshrined inequality into the U.S. Constitution soon after the war ended.
African Americans spent a great deal of time and energy proving that they were human, trying to express to the European Americans and the society at large that they were worthy of being treated as human beings.
This history serves as a reminder that the American ideals of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness for Black Americans were, and in many ways still are, entangled in policy and held at the whims of those in power. How do you think these historical disparities resonate today? Let us know in the comments below. Before you go, we want to hear your feedback. Every year, PBS Digital Studios sends out an audience survey, which we use to help understand what you enjoy on YouTube and what you would want to see us make more of. You'll also get to vote on new show ideas, so it would be great if In the Margin fans were well represented in the polls. There's a link in the description below, so thanks in advance.
All right, y'all. So I think that was a pretty good in-depth video about the American Revolution and everything that was provided during that time from Black men, specifically Black soldiers, but then also Black people as well, and the different experiences that they had. So let's go ahead and play a final song. And after that song, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all some of my final thoughts and summary to this live, and we'll end it here. We've reached the 2-hour mark, so I think I'm doing pretty good on time. So let me go ahead and play this song real quick, and we'll wrap it up. Be right back.
cradle and take. Gloria in excelsis. Yeah, yeah. I've been through the fire, walked through the rain, felt that pressure, felt that pain. They told me it was over, told me just give in, but they don't know the power that's living within. Yeah, I'm looking at the mountain, telling it to move. I got a different rhythm, I got a different groove. The chains are getting heavy, well, I'm getting strong. The king is on the throne, yeah, that's where I belong. Now the night is over, I see the day. All the breakthroughs coming, it's here to stay. I face the victory, come what may. It's here to stay. Something has to break. I feel it in the air. I'm casting every burden, casting every care. One night of weeping, but the morning is bright. We're walking out of darkness and into the light. Check the track record, he never failed yet. The miracle is coming, yeah, that's a safe bet. From the impossible to the it is done. The battle's already over, the victory is won. So let the strings soar, let the heavens open wide. I got the creator of the universe on my side. It's here to stay. The morning is here. Something has to break. The morning is here. Something has broken.
All right, y'all. So let's go ahead and get into a few closing thoughts that, I just had myself. I don't know how y'all feel about this live and all of the things that we cover here tonight. But we didn't just look at old laws and dusty books. We look at the DNA of a system from the slave codes that legally turned our ancestors into currency to the Stono Rebellion, where we had to fight just to be seen as men and women. There is an unbroken line. History isn't back then. It's the foundation of right now. When we see the hyper-policing of our neighborhoods, that's the ghost of the slave patrols. When we see our intellect questioned in the workplace, that's the ghost of the Phillis Wheatley trials. The names of the laws changed, but the spirit of control has only been remodeled. When Black history is a survival guide, people ask why we take Black history so serious. We take it seriously because for us, it isn't just a hobby or a month. It is a survival guide. We study this so we can recognize the traps before we step into them. We study the Germantown petition so we know that good people staying silent is just as dangerous as the bad people doing the harm. We move the way we move and we speak the way we speak because we are carrying the trauma and the triumph of 400 years in our bones. Our loudness is the echo of the Stono drums. Our suspicion is the result of centuries of broken promises from the American Revolution. We aren't being difficult. We are being discerning. And if you haven't lived it, you don't lead it. Here's the hardest truth for some people out there that may be listening tonight to swallow. You cannot comment on a fire you never felt the heat from. There is a specific lived experience in Black in America that cannot be studied in a textbook or understood through a documentary. If you have never had to wonder if your child will come home because of the color of their skin, somebody, can I get an amen? And don't make me tear up. or if you have never had the humanity debated by a jury of people who don't look like you, then you don't get to tell us how to feel. You don't get to tell us how to respond to our oppression. You don't get to tell us that we overreacting to a system that was literally built to keep us at the bottom. Observation is not the same as lived experience. If you haven't lived the struggle, your only job is to listen, to learn, and to get out of the way of our liberation. We are the authors of our own narrative, and we are done letting others hold the pen. So for my final sign off when it comes to this, y'all, and there will be more to come, thank you for joining me for this Black History Live. Remember, we aren't just descendants of slaves. We are the descendants of the ones who survived, the ones who rebelled, and the ones who wrote their way to freedom. Keep that same energy tomorrow, y'all, and I am out. I hope y'all enjoyed this live. I hope it had a lot of good information in it. I hope y'all hear where we coming from when I make this type of content and I speak in the way that I do. That's all I got for this one, y'all. I'm going to end it with a bop, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Golden out. Bye.
We shall overcome. Through the fire and the rain, we still run. We shall overcome. They can't eclipse the light of the sun. Deep in my heart, I still believe we shall overcome someday. Right. Deep in my heart, I do believe that we shall overcome someday. Just a ticking clock in a dark sit pad. But someday feels like it's slipping away. 2020's fixed and we're back in the fray. Yo, look, it's 2026 and the cycle is vicious. They're erasing the progress, making us suspicious. Rolling back the DII, cutting the light, targeting the cities in the middle of the night. I see the ice ages moving through the Twin Cities. Another life lost, no mercy, no pity. They say merit-based, but we know the code. It's a heavy weight, it's a long dark road. They're taking King's name, but they're killing the dream. Dismantling the systems, or so it would seem. From the border to the block, the tension is rising, but the spirit of the people, man, is still enterprising. We reclaim the day, we reclaim the street. You can hear the revolution in the pulse of the beat. They want us divided, they want us in fear, but the voice of the
Yeah. You tuned into the right place. Welcome to the rain. Golden Queen. H2.0. Let's get it. You're looking for a diamond, found a treasure in the rough. Tired of all the noise, cause you finally had enough. I'm here to build a movement on a mission for the nation. Dropping gems of knowledge, killing all the hesitation. We fighting for the truth, yeah, we fighting for what's right. Building unity and shining up a brand new light. It's a variety channel, but the vision's crystal clear. Pushing us all forward, conquering the doubt and fear. Yo, welcome to the Queendom. H2.0 on your screen, with the content's real and smart and funny in between. This is more than just a stream, it's a platform for the change. Time to elevate the game and rearrange. So if you're ready for a vibe that you can feel and trust, joining in the movement is a definite must. This ain't just another channel talking smack behind the screen. It's a spotlight for the creators, building up of the scene, spreading radical love, that's the message in the code. Helping everybody carry up a heavy load, from social justice issues to the laughter that we need. Planting seeds of progress, watch them grow from just a seed. This is authentic, this is raw, this is everything you saw. Welcome to the battle that is truly being fought. Oh, so come with your respect and see the real effect, cause I protect my own right here on the throne. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned. Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon. You've been warned. Yeah. Don't make me unleash the dragon, you've been warned. Yeah. Golden Queen H2.0. The movement starts now. Go ahead. Hit subscribe, ring that notification bell. You don't want to miss a thing. Welcome to the family.